Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Sports World live stream. Today, we are going to be joined by Lee Rouson, former pro football player, and he'll be answering your questions and sharing his story. So, without further ado, let's welcome him on. Hey, Lee.
Hey, what's up, Big Jake?
How's things going?
Hey, man, I'm doing good. I'm in Michigan. I'm in a great state of Michigan. I'm going to be involved with a football camp here, and I'm so excited. I'm going to feel like I'm young again. I am not going to step out on the football field and try to play football. I don't know anything about that more. I just know how to equate how I play the game of football with how I play the game of life. I most definitely can do that. So, other than that, along with that, I'm doing great. It's good to be here tonight and welcome anyone who's listening. And I hope that the ear of your heart will hear something that's for you.
That's great. So, why don't we start with a little bit about yourself? What was your journey into football?
Well, my journey into football is like so many young people who take their giftedness and their passion, converge it together, and it equates to a purpose type of life, a purpose driven life, or a life driven by purpose. So I was naturally good at sports, and especially football, and I had a passion for the experience of football, the hard work, the teamship, um, just learning how to be responsible as an individual person, learning how to relate to other people who were not like me, who were unique in their own way, and being in relationship like with coaches and even when I was growing up, my parents played a major role in my football career. So again, relationships. Uh, again, the giftedness of what I was most passionate about, coming into play in my life. As I look back at my life, um, that's how the journey started. I was developing relationships and developing um, the life of purpose, and didn't even know it.
All right. Well, so one of the most important things we like to talk about here on Sports World is someone's walk with the Lord. So why don't you give us a rundown of your testimony?
Well, my testimony is I believe is quite similar to pretty much any testimony. It's just played out in different ways, but um, I came to an identity crisis in my life because I believe that the one thing that all of us have in common on the planet is that we decide who we are. In other words, we choose the choice of identity. We see it all throughout our society right now, and all kind of people are choosing all kinds of identities. And we're taught, you can be whatever you want to be when you grow up. You can do what you want to do. So I wanted to play football. That was as an African American, as a little kid growing up in Greensboro, North Carolina, and I was really good at it. But I was good at other things as well. But I knew that, like growing up in the '70s, that if I became a role model, a positive type model, that I could be a part of the change, and I could help serve other people and make things better in my family and in my community. And I just had that type of awareness. And so I was recruited as one of the top running backs in America. I was recruited by Southern Cal, University of Colorado. I got my Colorado shirt on right now. Boulder, CU, go Buffs. I got my New York Giant hat on right here. After my college career, I was drafted by the New York Football Giants, and I was fortunate to get 2 Super Bowl rings. You can see on my hand right here, bling bling. Um, but in that whole journey, I faced an identity crisis at the end of my senior year at the University of Colorado, because at that point the reality was I wasn't going to make it into the NFL, which was my dream. I wanted to become an NFL football player, to take care of my family, buy my mother a house. Um, again, you know, be someone who had a voice as an African American in this country, who really cared about people, and from hard work and grit and hope and never giving up. I wanted to share these things with other people, so that we can all move forward in our lives. And but it looked like at the end of my senior career, it wasn't going to happen, because after I signed my name on the contract to go to the University of Colorado, my senior year in high school at Greensboro Page, 3 days after I signed my name on the contract, we were put on probation. So my life started with a struggle. My dream started with a struggle. Away from high school, I leave North Carolina, go 2,000 miles away from home, and immediately I'm struggling. And my entire college career was not what I hoped for. It was not what I wanted to happen. None of my dreams came true, other than I made it through the whole entire time. Well, I didn't get my degree in business. I have it now, but I didn't get it then. I didn't get a bow ring on my finger. I didn't go to the Orange Bowl. I didn't have that college career, that illustrious college career where I had like 1,000-yard season as a running back. I was not, highly talented coming out of college, and at the end of my college career, if somebody would have said my name, people would have said, Lee who? I was more famous in high school than I was at the end of my college career. But I was invited to this All-Star game in Montgomery, Alabama, and the head coach of the coaches committee, he told me, he said, Lee, you weren't picked because you're one of the best college football players in America. Most of the ball players in this game are are the best. They're going to be like number one, number two draft picks. But they had the best college careers in terms of their stats and their numbers and all the publicity, and we picked you because of your character. That's the only reason why you're in this game. And I was like, yay! I didn't do anything wrong to cause Colorado to be on probation, and so this is my chance, and my reward for not giving up. So many ball players gave up, going through the same struggle that I went through, but I didn't give up. So the first week I'm in I'm getting ready for the game to be played on Christmas Day. It was called the Blue Gray All-Star Football Classic. They stopped playing it about 5 years ago. And during the first initial media event, the two top questions were, can you talk about your past? And the second question was, now let's talk about your future. So the two top questions was in the area of everybody's past and their future. Just like most of us, we get into conversations, we talk about our past life. Well, we say, who are you, and where you from, and what are you doing, and what do you want to do, and what do you want to be when you grow up. And there's so the topic was, well, who'd you play for in college? How was your college career? And who do you want to be drafted by in the NFL? So I'm waiting for my turn. I'm hearing all these questions to all the ball players, but no one interviewed me. Nobody asked me about my past or my future. And I remember getting upset. And I heard this voice in my mind go, let's look at your past. man, you guys were sorry at Colorado, and you didn't hardly have any touchdowns, and and you're not going to make it. I mean, let's look at your future. Exactly, there ain't none. You better hope your mama still has your bedroom at your house, because you're not going to get drafted. You're not going to make it in the NFL. There's no way. So if anybody that came up to me at that moment and asked me, who are you? If I was to keep it real, I would have said, I'm just a human being with fear as my identity. I identify with fear. And let me spell fear out. Fear. Fear is false evidence appearing real. The false evidence that appeared real to me in that moment was that I went to Colorado, had a messed up career, was on probation, and therefore I'm not going to have the future that I dreamed about. So if someone would have asked me, like in middle school, who are you? I would have said, I'm Black. Because that's how I grew up. I grew up in the civil rights movement. I grew up in the 60s and 70s in Greensboro, North Carolina. Before I began my young childhood, my father was a bodyguard for Malcolm X. I was there when he was assassinated. I was in the Audubon Ballroom in Harlem. I was 2 years old. My point is, I was a part of Black history. I was a part of a lot of changes that were going on in America during the 60s. And then I found that my family moved to North Carolina after Malcolm X was killed. And that's where I grew up, hearing from most of the Black people and most of the white people, you're Black. You better walk Black, talk Black, smell Black, dress Black. You better act Black. You better be Black. And I didn't really buy into it. I was like, okay, I'm chocolate, but I didn't get which Black should I be, because there was different kind of Blacks. There was the fearful Black. Oh, Lee, we know you're a good football player, but you're not going to make it into the NFL. Well, I don't even know why you got all these dreams for. You know the white man is going to keep you down, Black. So there was a lot of Black people around me who were like fearful. It's not going to happen. So don't work hard in your academics. Don't work out. Don't train and like you're going to really live your dreams. Just chill. And then there was another kind of Black. There was like this bougie Black, Blacks who thought they were better than other Blacks. And then there was one more Black. Hi, my name is Michael. I wear Izod shirts and Levi jeans. And my favorite TV show is Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous. I want to be white Black. Because in the late 70s and early 80s, white was very popular. There's a lot of Black people. I remember they tried to talk white, they tried to dress white, they tried to act white. That was their identity. That's what they identified with. So I didn't really identify with any of those Blacks. Yes, I knew I was chocolate. I knew I was African American, but it had to be more than that. And some people, they question me. They say, "Well, you're not Black." I said, "I never said that." I said, "Black is not who I am." But at this part of my journey in Montgomery, Alabama, I had no idea who I was. I get on the bus to go to football practice that day. After the media event, I go to the back of the bus and I'm hearing all these conversations, ball players saying that the Cowboys are going to draft me in the first round, the Steelers are going to draft me in the first round. And I'm thinking to myself, how do they know that? And I guess I was jealous and upset. Again, I'm in this crisis, right? So I started judging them. I was like, man, they don't know what team going to draft them. They don't know what round they're going in. They don't even know who they are. And for the first time in my life, it hit me like a ton of bricks. I began to sense and realize that I didn't know who I was. I already felt out of place. Why am I here? I mean, I can name drop guys on this bus who are in the Hall of Fame. I go to practice, I come back, I sit at the front of the bus. And there's this football player sitting beside me, and he was just different than everybody in the back of the bus. He wasn't talking saying he this and that and all that. He just had his game face on. And I could sense something about who he was. I could sense a real power, a real authority. And I was like, excuse me, brother, who are you? He looks at me, and I will never forget for the rest of my life the words that came out of his heart, through his chest, out of his mouth. He said, I am the best wide receiver in the NFL. My name is Jerry Rice. I'm from Mississippi. And I was like, whatever. Because we weren't in the NFL yet. We were still in college. This was like a week before Christmas. The NFL draft was 4 months later. And when those 4 months came, he was drafted. He was the number 1 pick for the San Francisco 49ers. And I was drafted. I was the number 8th pick for the New York Football Giants. 20 years later, Jerry Rice retired as the all-time best wide receiver in most categories ever in the National Football League. I go back to that day in the front of the bus. And I think Jerry Rice decided who he was before he was. Because the question is, and the question was for me that day, going through this identity crisis, who am I really? That's what happens when any one of us goes through an identity crisis. We go, well, I've been trying to do this and trying to be that. These people want me to be this. Those people want me to do this and be this. My feelings want me to be this and do that. But who am I really? Is my true identity based on what other people say that I am? Is it based on how I feel? Is it based on how other people feel? And a lot of people, some people say, well, it's based on the truth, because the question is, who are you truly? Well, then a lot of people say, well, this is my truth. Well, is my truth the truth? I just imagine if everybody on the planet had their own truth, what's the truth? That means you can just be whatever and say that's your truth. When I want to know the truth. The truth is that I am not my nationality, but my nationality is a part of who I am. I'm not my name, my reputation, but my name, my reputation is a part of who I am. I'm not my occupation, what I do. I mean, the NFL for 7 years stood for the National Football League. At the end of that time, it stood for not for long. It was over. But now the NFL stands for newfound life, because I have a newfound life in knowing who I truly am. I have a newfound life in Christ. But this day in the front of the bus, I didn't know that. But when this man said, I am the best wide receiver in the NFL, it got me thinking. And if in a few years later, I began to realize that I really didn't know who I was, truly. And I began to think about that conversation when I said, who are you? He said, I am the best wide receiver in the NFL. I began to think, I said, you know what? He decided who he was before he was. That day in front of the bus, he was already in the adventure. He was already living in the very life process of becoming who he was. I imagine that maybe in the 4th grade, Jerry Rice decided who he was. Let me be Jerry Rice right quick in the 4th grade. I am the best wide receiver in the NFL. And every day, I'm going to walk that walk. I'm going to talk that talk. I'm going to live it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to be it. And nothing and nobody is going to stop me. You may look at me like I'm a snot-nosed 4th grader. Stop judging me by what you see on the outside. As a matter of fact, you're not seeing me anyway. You are hearing me, because who I am is not a physical thing like the color of my skin, my hairstyle, the clothes I got on, what I have in my pocket, how I feel. Who I am is much deeper than that. It's a choice that I made in my heart. And every day, I'm going to become it. I'm going to become it when I go through problems. I'm going to become it when I go through stresses. I'm going to become it when I go through hardships. I'm going to become it when anything is trying to stop me from being who I am. I'm going to use those things to overcome and to become. I'm going to turn them into good news. And I'm going to turn them into opportunities because I've already chose and decided in my heart who I am. So now I can do that. It was the times in my life when I didn't know who I was, I couldn't do it. That's why one day I would make some good choices, then another day I would make some crazy, stupid choices. Because I wasn't building my life on this foundation. I wasn't building my life on this knowledge. I wasn't building my life being plugged into the power source. I was just whatever I felt like. But a choice is not feelings. A choice is a life. A choice is a way of life. A choice is the power and authority. So whatever choice you make becomes your power and your authority. It's the power of that choice. We're not born winners. We're not born losers. We're born choosers. So when what we choose, we take on that power and that authority of what we choose. And one day, I was getting ready to lose my wife. We got married in 1989. This is like 1994, and I retired in 1992, and I'm struggling. I'm trying to build my life, but I wasn't building my true identity. I was trying to build my life. I was trying to do things my way and how I've been doing all my life, and nothing was working. And and one evening, I surrendered my life to Christ. I was going to kill this dude. This dude started cursing me out, and I saw myself killing him. I saw my hands grabbing him on his head and crushing his head into the concrete. And right when I went to do it, two little kids moved in the front seat of this truck. When I looked into their eyes, it was like I heard the voice of God say, "Come home right now, son. If you don't come home right now, I'm gonna take my hands off of you." It was like my grandma Charity, talking to me. I remember when I would get in trouble, she would say, "Get over here, boy. Get over here and get this spanking or this whipping right now. If you don't get over here and get this spanking right now, this whipping right now, I'm gonna take my hands off of you." I didn't want my grandmother to take her hands off of me because I knew she loved me. I knew my grandma loved me. I would take that discipline. I would take that whipping. And I would get to the point where I just got tired of getting those whippings, man. I just said, I started learning how to love her back by doing what she said, you know? And that's the one thing I believe a lot of us struggle with. We struggle, a lot of people struggle. A lot of people want to be smart. But unless you have a high IQ, or unless you really work hard and develop your intelligence, the darkness in your life is ignorance. You're ignorant. You don't know something. You haven't learned it. But spiritually, our darkness is disobedience. It's not doing what God says. And I began to learn that in my life, that there was a spiritual darkness in me. But when I surrendered my life to Christ, I began to love God back by doing what he says, by loving my wife as Christ loved the church, by loving my kids no matter what they did, by loving my friends and loving my enemies. All the areas of my life and the roles that I play, how God calls me, how he directs me with the talents and the strengths that has given me. I've learned how to converge those talents and strengths and even my weaknesses with what I'm most passionate about. And I'm most passionate about serving God and loving God. And I love that because when I know that when I'm serving God and loving God, I'm serving and loving my wife and my kids. There's no separation from the two. When I'm serving God and loving God, I'm serving and loving my friends, even my enemies, even people who I don't even know. Like there's some people on this call right now. I don't know you. We've never talked before. But I'm telling you right now, my words are money. My words are love. The real true money and the real true love. And right now they can be deposited in the bank account of your heart right now, to where you can withdraw them anytime you want to from this day forward, and exchange them for what you need and what you want. So I praise God for coming to me and calling me to surrender my life to him. I'm gonna put a plug in my computer, Jake. Why you I just end it right there, or you can just talk right. Just give me a second.
All right, sounds good. But yeah, so that's a very powerful story there, Lee. Pause for technical difficulties.
All right, I'm back. Thank you, Jake. Appreciate that, brother. I hope so, man. I hope that, as I said earlier, um, that you know, that I hope that the ear of many hearts, you know, heard my testimony, and I thank you for letting me share it.
Yeah.
It's so important. I think it's as amazing if anybody again is listening, as far as the English language, that when you look at the word heart, there's an ear in it, right? And also the word hear is in heart. All of us, as long as we're breathing, we must learn how to hear with the ear of our heart. And there's another word, the beginning two letters, He, what he says, what our loving Father says. And then there's one more word at the end. Then we can art. Then we know how to respond in life. We know how to be creative in any kind of situation that we face. Whether the situation is good, bad, right, wrong, happy, sad, crazy, difficult, easy, it doesn't matter what situation it is. When you are truly who you are able to respond with power and authority. And I'm telling you, I'm hoping that this what's it, generation Alpha or Alpha Gen, whatever young people are called this generation right here. Young people right now, you are the future for this country and this world. When you learn how to be who you truly are, it's going to change everything on this earth.
So, one of the things that you talked about a lot with identity, um, where what what do you think is the biggest hurdle in people's lives right now, keeping them from seeing their true identity and who they are?
Well, I think it's because we don't recognize it's a team effort. You see, it's just not about me being who I am. That's my responsibility as a member of the team. But it still takes a team effort. And right now, I'm really called to pray for God's team. See, I believe the word. The word of God says, Jesus says, I'm building my team. I'm building my church, and the gates of Hades will not prevail. God is putting this team together. And I believe since that's true, there are other competitive forces trying to get everybody to be on their team. The world's team, Satan's team, just, my own, whatever type of identity team. And I really believe that those who really love God, who's on God's team, we have a lot of work to do right now. It's time for us to impact people's lives with our testimonies, and not just running our mouth, but really being who you are for Christ each and every day. That's what it's going to take. There's no shortcuts. We have to. Listen. It's not about going to church on Sunday. It's about being the church. If we go somewhere on Sunday, we're going to practice. We're going to worship God, set our heart toward God. We're going to be filled and formed and lit up by Him. We're going to come together with our teammates, go over plays, and get ready. It's not like a football game, football season, when you all week long you get ready for Sunday. With the church, with God's team, it's you get ready on Sunday for the rest of the week.
So we have a question, Lee. And by the way, this is a Q&A, everyone. Everyone watching, if you got questions like this one here, please ask them, and I'll ask Lee. So basically, how do you deal with depression and anxiety? That's the question.
And I get that question all the time. First of all, you don't want to deal with anxiety. You want to get rid of it. You want to get rid of every opportunity you get when it tries to come at you. It tries to stop you from pressing on, from living your life. Get rid of it. And the best way if again, the person who's asking that question, you asking me, how do I get rid of it? It's with the fruit of the Spirit. I just don't get rid of it right when it comes at me. I'm already preparing that it's going to come at me before it comes at me. That's why every day I get up and I spend time with God. I read the Word. I'm in devotion, and I'm just listening, and I'm letting God fill me up and shake me up and light me up. It's like I'm in training all the time. I'm hearing God's Word so that when depression comes at me, that's how I get rid of it. I remember God's Word. Jesus says, "Come to me, and I will give you rest." So what does that mean? Well, when I come to Jesus, I'm remembering the Word of God, because Jesus is the Word. So I remember Jesus saying to me, "Come to me, believe me, trust in me. It's finished. I've done the work. I did what you can't do." So when I remember that, I'm good. There's something happens in my spirit when I remember what Jesus did. Then I know I can't do it. He did it. All I gotta do is be living in what He's done. In other words, all I gotta do is believe. So when I remember who He is and what He's done, stress, depression, it got to go. It can't stay in my mind. It can't stay in my heart. It got to get up out of here. It may try to come back another time, because again, there's all kind of things we deal with as we grow up in life and go through things. But at that moment right there, it got to go. And I'm free. Because I did my job. Jesus says, "Come to me." So I came to Him. I remember Him, and then He did His job. He gave me rest in that moment. in that situation, when I came to him and I remembered him, the power and the knowledge of who he is got rid of that depression.
That's great advice, and sorry for making you wait, Lee. Sometimes I don't know if it's a pause or if you're done.
Well,
You're the master
that's
of the
okay,
dramatic
man. You know,
pause.
it's good. But I like that because if somebody's really listening to us right now, it may give a person time to soak it in. You know, sometimes, you know, it's not about people just running their mouth and trying to talk to you and tell you about how to live your life and things like that. So, you know, that pause may be good. If somebody's hearing something that's real for them, you know, they can let it soak in, man.
Yeah.
They can
All right. Well.
they can receive it, and, you know.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying they can receive it, and you know, and so that again, when they have their come to Jesus moment, they're gonna remember, and they're gonna come to Jesus in that moment. He's gonna give them rest.
Well, we got a few more minutes here, so we always like to close things out with if you could leave the viewers tonight with one thing, if they didn't hear any of what you said tonight except for one thing, what message would you want to leave them with?
Jesus says, "Come to me, and I will give you rest." Can you trust God? Can you come to Him? Can you remember what He said to you? You may have read something that He said to you in the Bible. You may have been you may be in a conversation with a few people, and they say, "Well, Jesus said this." Can you humble yourself and come to Him? Because He's always knocking on the door of our hearts, saying, open the door of your heart. Don't get caught up in your own wisdom, your own pride. Trust me. I am your wisdom. I died for you. I gave my life for you. Remember me. And every time you remember me, I will give you rest. I will take out that depression. I will take out that lie. I will take out that lack of grit, that lack of hope. I will take it out. As long as you take my grace, as long as you come to me, trusting me, as long as you are taking the favor that I have upon you, you will have rest.
That is a great way to end things, Lee. That message of hope and grace. And so I just want to thank everyone who's been on the live tonight for being here, and I want to share with you um, our different resources that we have here. Let me make that a little bit bigger on the screen. There we go. That's better. If you need to, if you want to talk to anyone about anything you heard tonight and want more information, we have an email, mydecision@sportsworld.org, and someone will get back to you and answer your question. But if you have a more immediate need with anxiety or depression, even suicidal ideation, we have a 24/7 crisis chat line. You can access that by texting the word choice to 494949. That is 3 4 9s. And once again, that is text the word choice to 494949. Thank you again, everyone who came to watch it. Thank you again, Lee. It's always great having you on, even when we have these shorter nights like tonight. And I just want to thank you for spending some time with us and sharing some wisdom.
Thank you, Jake. Thanks for allowing me the opportunity. And it's for His glory. And bless you, brother. And bless everybody who tuned in tonight.
See you later, Lee.
Take care, Jake.